Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to today's video, and today it is not a reaction. It is not another Mr. Nightmare Scary Story reactions. It is something a little bit different. As you can see by the jersey I'm wearing, the NHL 2021 playoffs are just around the corner. The teams are set, the brackets are set. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different to usual, because I'm pretty sure they do basketball the same way as the NHL, where they have one conference and the other conference, and then the take top 8 from this conference, top 8 from this conference, they battle out until you get the conference champions, then the final Stanley Cup champion. I'm pretty sure they do the same thing with the NBA and probably a lot of other leagues. But as you can see, this is my team. I am a big Montreal Canadiens fan, and they just slipped in to that 4th seed spot in each division. They did a little bit different this year. Because of COVID, they had to split it into 4 different divisions. That is 8. 4 different divisions. So they had top 4 from this one, top 4 from this one, top 4 from this one, top 4 from this one. They still have the 16-team playoffs, but it is a little bit different. Montreal slid right in to that 4th place position, and I actually have a spot in the playoffs, and I am so excited to see what they're going to do with it. Alright, so it's a little bit different. I've never done a video like this before. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you want to do this with different sports. You probably won't see it happen because I don't watch a lot of different sports. But yeah, I have my own bracket here. I can show you guys a little sneak peek. Looks a little bit messy. I'm not gonna give my predictions away too soon, but it looks a little bit messy. But I can read it, and that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm just going to be going through my predictions of how I think the 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs is going to go down. And like I think I need to put a disclaimer here. This is just my opinion. You guys don't have to agree with me. Just don't say shit like, you're a fucking moron, dude. There's no way that cock-sucking fucking shit team is going to make it past my team in the fucking playoffs. You're a fucking fat brain-dead idiot. Because that stuff gets to me. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, it's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. This is just what I'm stating, alright? So first thing, I think we're going to start it off with, of course, the Canadian division. I am a Montreal Canadiens fan. I've been watching the Canadian division. I'm also Canadian myself. I feel like this is going to be the most exciting series to watch because, you know, hockey's just Canada's sport. I'm sorry to my U.S. followers that follow hockey. It's Canada's sport. No, you guys are getting better at it. You guys are for sure getting better at it. But it is Canada's sport. So I'm going to start it off with Toronto versus Montreal. Now, I try my hardest not to be biased in any way, shape, or form, but it is hard. Like, this is my team, bro. I eat, sleep, breathe, masturbate with this team. But I also don't think it's going to go how everyone thinks it's going to go. Everyone thinks Montreal is going to get shit on, and they say it's either going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. If you don't know what a gentleman's sweep is, essentially they do best of 7, so it's the first one to win 4 games. So a sweep is just winning it 4 games. The other team doesn't win any. A gentleman's sweep would be 5 games, so 4 games to 1. So they still get that 1 win in there, but it's usually useless. They still got shit kicked. It's a gentleman's sweep. That's what everyone seems to think. But I don't. Here's my argument. At the beginning of the season is when Montreal was really in their prime. The trades they made in the offseason, I said they're making a full-blown run for the Cup this year. And of course, each year they're not going to say, yeah, we're just rebuilding, we're not making a run for a Cup. Each year they're always going to say the same thing. We definitely have a team to make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs because they want their team. They need the business side of this stuff. They need their team's fans to buy the merchandise, to come to the games and stuff. If they're going to say like, yeah, no, our team sucks, we're going to get shit kicked. We're just rebuilding though. No one's really going to follow the season that much. So, you know, they gotta say what they gotta say. But this year, through the trades they made, picking up Josh Anderson with Max Domi, at first, I'm not gonna lie, that trade upset me a little bit. I love Domi, had a soft spot in my heart for him, but he had to go, and Josh Anderson has done a phenomenal job at stepping up as the power forward that Domi was as well, putting up good goals, you know, being a solid producer all season. Tyler Toffoli, dominant, fucking dominant from start to finish. No injuries, just dominant. And Brendan Gallagher, of course, he's my favorite player. He's on my wall right over there. He is my favorite player. This is the jersey I'm wearing, is Brendan Gallagher's. He's just a great grinder. And I noticed this year his skill got better because he didn't get to the NHL from his puck handling ability, his shooting ability, his skating. It was just his heart is the size of fucking, I don't know, the Grand Canyon. He just goes. And now I'm starting to see a little bit of skill with his gameplay. So he's just really stepping it up, especially with the assistant captain role. You know what I'm saying? And when we first started off against Toronto, it's always a battle between these two teams. They do not want to lose to each other. It's one of the biggest rivalries in hockey. All right, you got to admit that. So Montreal was going up against Toronto. It was like win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. Then we got to remember, our record's 3-6-1 against Toronto so far this season. I don't think it's that bad. And yes, Toronto is a very strong team. They are very dominant. I will admit that. But you look at our record against them, you can't really say that we're going to get shit kicked by them because they're such a strong team. You know these two teams. They do not want to lose to each other. And also, we played them, what, 4 times? 4 times at the end of the season. We lost all games. Because you know why? This is the shittiest thing about being a Montreal fan. All of our best players get injured. At some point in the season, we lost Philip Deneau, our face-off specialist. Brendan Gallagher, my favorite player, was gone for a little bit. Carey Price with a concussion. Shea Weber with an upper body injury. Thomas Tatar was out for a little bit. Jonathan Duran is out for personal reasons right now. Our best players just drop. You know what I'm saying? And that's the most frustrating part. But Montreal versus Toronto is going to be iconic. That's what happened last year in 2019-2020. We had a lot of injuries, we fell off, then we made it back in the playoffs and whooped Pittsburgh's ass. Everyone thought we were going to get shit kicked. You know what I'm saying? You can never count Montreal out. And with the players they picked up, when they have their full healthy roster, they are as forced to be reckoned with. We lost those games against Toronto, and I think we actually won 1 out of 4, and 1 was overtime. Cole Caulfield scoring the overtime winner. Beautiful goal. But you know, we were playing with a bunch of fourth liners. We were playing with people. We were trying to make shit work. We wanted that playoff spot, so we were trying to make shit work. So once you get the full lineups back together, I feel like this is going to be a series that is going to go the distance. So that is what I have right here. I have Toronto versus Montreal going to Game 7. I'm telling you, these two teams don't like to lose to each other. It's going to go back and forth all the way through, and it's going to go to Game 7. And here's where I think Montreal's going to have the upper hand. Toronto has a terrible curse. They haven't made it past the first round since 2005. You can fact check me on that. They haven't made it past the first round in 2005, and you know they have bad luck in Game 7s. How many did they lose against Boston so far? Like 6? 6 in a row they've lost Game 7s to Boston? They do not have good luck with Game 7. So I feel like Montreal is going to be able to pull out the upset in Game 7. You know what I'm saying? Now, like I said, I could be fully wrong on this. We could get shit kicked. But that is just my personal opinion. Moving on. Sorry, I rambled a little bit. Moving on to Edmonton versus Winnipeg. I honestly think this is going to go worse than the Toronto versus Montreal one. Because if you look at the record, like I said, Winnipeg is 2-7-0 against Edmonton. Montreal has a higher chance of beating Toronto than Winnipeg has of beating Edmonton. And everyone seems to think it's a closer team. It's just because it's second and third. That's why the only reason they think it's closer. It's not. Let's be honest here. If you look at the record between these two teams, Edmonton just dominates Winnipeg. I don't know what else to say. It also could be for the fact that Nikolai Ehlers was out for the last little bit of the season, and that's one of their stronger players. But I don't think you can rely fully on a player as a team. You know what I'm saying? So I have the Oilers ending up winning this series in 6 games. So I think it's going to go. It's probably going to go either back and forth for the first 4, and then Edmonton's going to knock out the last 2, or vice versa. So Edmonton's going to win the first 2, and it's going to go back and forth until Edmonton is able to knock out Winnipeg in 6 games. So, yeah, that is what that is. Now, moving on to the other division. What division is this? I'll check real quick. So, moving on to the West Division. We got Colorado in first, St. Louis in fourth, Las Vegas in second, Minnesota in third. So, we're going to start with Colorado versus St. Louis. It's going to be a gentleman's sweep. Colorado is stacked. St. Louis just barely slid in that playoff spot. They have been falling off for the past little while. Let's be honest here. They've been back and forth all season. They just slid in that playoff spot, and Colorado has just been dominant all season. Top of the league, top of that division. They're just a dominant team all around. I think they're going to go a long way with it. So Colorado is definitely going to beat out St. Louis. I feel like St. Louis, because they had that playoff, nice little playoff run in 2019 where they won the Cup. I think they might be able to squeak in a game there, but I have it in 5. Colorado in 5, easy peasy, done. We're going home. Now, Las Vegas versus Minnesota. A lot of people are saying Minnesota's the Cinderella team. They think they're going to go on a nice, beautiful run, but they just don't have the depth to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals and actually win the whole thing. But they're going to make a nice little run here, and I believe the same thing. I believe they're going to be a nice Cinderella team, make a nice little run here, and I'm actually very impressed with what I've seen from Minnesota. But I have Las Vegas beating them in 7 games. I feel like I said, Cinderella team, they are pretty well even. I think it's going to go the distance, but I still see Vegas beating them out in 7 games. Now, moving on to the Central Division. So for the Central Division, we got Carolina versus Nashville. Carolina first, Nashville fourth, Florida second, Tampa third. So we'll start off with Carolina versus Nashville. Carolina, dominant in that division. I've been keeping track of it all season, Carolina has just been dominant. They've either been first, second. I think lowest they dropped was third. First, second, third in that area. They have been absolutely dominant. Nashville barely slid in that playoff spot. It was such a close tie between them and Dallas, and honestly, I feel like Dallas would have been a better fit. They made a nice little run last year, all the way to they became conference champions. I think they would have made a better run, and I think they are a stronger playoff team. I think their biggest asset or biggest liability was that Dallas did not know how to win in overtime. Montreal had the same problem for the longest time. That's what held us back a good chunk of the time too. But they did not know how to win in overtime. I'm looking at their stats right now. 56 games played, 23 wins, 19 losses, 14 overtime losses. If they were able to just win 50% of those, they would have slid in that fourth place spot beautifully. But Nashville, I just don't think is a playoff team. They aren't. They aren't yet. They were a couple years ago. They aren't anymore. All right? They have some rebuilding to do. So I feel like this is going to be the only sweep of the first round we're going to see. We're going to see Carolina sweep Nashville 4-0. And moving on to Florida versus Tampa Bay. Florida, another one of them Cinderella teams. A team you would not expect to go as far as they do. And them versus Tampa Bay is going to be very even. I think it's going to be very even, and I feel like since Tampa Bay won last year and they were dominant a couple years beforehand, I feel like that people think Tampa Bay is just going to be able to carry it the rest of the way because that's what they do. I mean, it makes sense. They were Stanley Cup champions last year. You think they'd be just as good this year to do the same thing. They have the same intentions and shit. But people say Florida's a Cinderella team just like Minnesota, but I feel like Florida has that power. They've been sitting above Tampa Bay for the longest time, and I know Steven Stamkos was injured and Nikita Kucherov were injured for the last little bit, and they're making a return in playoffs. And I know I'm filming this after the first game of all the divisions except for the Canadian division because they're starting late. And I know Tampa Bay won in overtime, but I feel like Florida could pull off the upset, and I have Florida winning in Game 6. Believe it or not, I do. I have Florida beating out Tampa Bay in Game 6. Now, we'll move on to the last division, which is the division that clinched the playoff spot the quickest. They all knew their playoff teams. I mean, look at the teams they had to go up against. New York Rangers, Philadelphia, New Jersey Devils, and Buffalo. Of course, the other 4 teams are going to make it. They clinched it in no time. You know what I mean? They clinched it with, like fourth place clinched it with 10 games left of the season. You get what I'm saying? But we got Pittsburgh in first, New York Islanders in fourth, and Washington in second, Boston in third. So Pittsburgh versus New York Islanders. I think Pittsburgh is just a stronger team than New York. They showed it in playoffs before. I mean, I think it was New York that beat Pittsburgh a couple years ago, 2019 I think it was. They ended up pulling off a victory against Pittsburgh. But I feel like Pittsburgh is a strong team. I mean, what did they say? Made the playoffs 15 years in a row? Crosby, hometown boy, Nova Scotia boy, myself. They do a phenomenal job of dominating every year, or always sliding into a playoff spot. They always do a good job of being a good team, especially with Crosby leading and their playoff experience. I feel like they're going to be able to take it a good distance more than New York Islanders will. So I have Pittsburgh winning that series in 6. I have a lot of 6s. I know it's just the most common one, and it's the easiest one you could think of where it's like, I don't think they're going to dominate, but I don't think it's going to be as close as a Game 7. So I feel like 6 is the right answer here. Washington versus Boston. Now this is going to go to Game 7. I was just saying, like, I don't know a lot of these teams, but this is going to go to a Game 7. Washington in second, Boston in third. Those teams flip-flop back and forth. They are always doing the same shit over and over again. I mean, if you watched the game before that, the one game they played already, what was it? Goal, overtime, goal. You know, Washington's already got the win and stuff, but I feel like it's going to go to Game 7. And I feel like whoever just won the first game got the upper hand, because I think it's just going to go win till the team that won the first game wins it all, which is Washington. So I think it's going to go Washington, Boston, Washington, Boston, Washington, Boston, Washington. Even though Boston has a great Game 7 experience, this ain't Toronto. So I think Washington's going to be able to take that series in 7. Now we're going to make a quick jump back to the Canadian division. Montreal versus Oilers. Now, Montreal had a better record against the Oilers. I think Montreal's, believe it or not, I think their hardest competition is the first round against Toronto. Besides that, I feel like they are just as capable to play a bunch of other teams. And I'm trying not to be biased here, but what were they? 5-3-0, 5-2-0, I think it was, or 5-2-1. Heading into, we played them twice and lost them both in overtime the last 2 games of the regular season. But we are 5-2-1 heading into those two games. Montreal's been dominant against Edmonton. You get what I'm saying? And I know playoffs is a whole new season. That's my argument for Toronto. But I just think Montreal, all season, all regular season, I feel like they'd be able to do it in playoffs too. They've just done a phenomenal job. They've done what no other team can do, which is shut down McDavid and Draisaitl. And of course, McDavid's still going to get a point every now and again. Same with Draisaitl against Montreal, because they're fucking unbelievable. The combo, they're unbelievable. But we figured out how to shut them down. They had the least amount of points against Montreal in the division by any team this year. So if Montreal is able to shut down them, they can get that in 6. I said Montreal in 6 games against the Oilers, and I have them. If they get it past Toronto, which I'm hoping they will, the game 7 I feel like is what's going to happen. I'm hoping Montreal can pull it off, and I feel like they could. And if they do that, I feel like Montreal could take it and become the Canadian Division champions. Honestly, you see how they started off the season with that full roster and how they were at the beginning. 7-1-2 in the first 10 games. It was unbelievable. And we'll go back down to Colorado versus Las Vegas. Now I think this is going to be a close matchup. For the most part, I feel like Las Vegas is a phenomenal team. They've been dominant. You know what I'm saying? They've been a very dominant team in their division. So is Colorado. Colorado's in first right now. Vegas is in second. You know what I'm saying? It just makes sense that those two are going to face each other again. I feel like they're just too elite in the top. You know what I'm saying? But like it's showing right here in the stats, Colorado's been first, Vegas has been second. Vegas was first for the longest time. Colorado kind of snuck back in there, and they've been going back and forth at it. But I feel like Colorado is just an overall better team, and they've been first for a little bit longer. I could be wrong on that, but I just feel like they're overall better team. So I have Colorado winning that series in 6. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Colorado just has that depth that's going to help them carry them past these rounds in the playoffs, which I don't know if Vegas has. I know Vegas has a very, very strong stacked team. It's going to be a battle of the stacked teams. You get what I'm saying? But I feel like Colorado can get it done in 6. Colorado just has a little bit more oomph to them than Vegas. That's what I feel from them. And moving on to, what would it be? Carolina versus Florida. Like I said, I feel like Florida could pull it off. They could pull off the upset against Tampa Bay. But they're also still a Cinderella team. So they aren't going to make it past the second round. Especially against Carolina. Carolina is a phenomenal team. I think Carolina's going to get that in 5. I think Florida's run is going to be done. They did the same. I think it's going to be the same thing as 2019 Columbus Blue Jackets, where they swept the Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh my God, they did it. It's so phenomenal. Then they got beat out the second round. I feel like it's a Cinderella team. Let's be honest here. So I think Carolina's going to be able to knock them out in 5 games. And then we got, what would it be? Pittsburgh versus Washington. Pittsburgh versus Washington is going to be a good series, but I feel like Pittsburgh has more playoff experience. When they get in their zone and when they get into the deeper later rounds, that's when Pittsburgh really comes up clutch and they really step it up, just as a team in general. Washington's done that before, but I feel like they're going to be able to pull it off. I feel like Pittsburgh pulls it off more times than Washington ever will. So I have Pittsburgh winning it in 6. So far I have Pittsburgh winning both series in 6, but I still have Pittsburgh winning in 6. So now it's down between Montreal and Pittsburgh, Colorado and Carolina. We'll do Montreal and Pittsburgh first. I know that, and this is the thing with Toronto versus Montreal. Me and my dad both agreed on it. Whichever team's going to win that series, they're going to go a long way. We both believe that, because Toronto has that drought. If they can snap that streak of being that cold drought they have, not making it past the first round in 16 fucking years, not winning a cup since 67, Toronto wins it, they're going to run for it. That's why we don't want them to win it as a Montreal fan. Montreal wins it, with the team they have, they can just run it. They could run it. They didn't have this depth last year. That's what they lacked. Now that they got this depth, they could run it. That's why I have them. I honestly think whichever team wins between Toronto and Montreal is going to be the Canadian Division champions. Honestly, I believe that wholeheartedly, 100%. And I know we beat Pittsburgh in the qualifiers last year. That's what I like to say. It says Pittsburgh's made the playoffs 15 seasons in a row. Technically, they didn't last year. Montreal broke that streak. They were in qualifiers, weren't technically in playoffs. So, hold that, Pittsburgh fans. But yeah, this year I have Pittsburgh winning at 5. I know they're going to make a run for it, and I know if between Toronto and Montreal, they're going to make a solid run for it. But between Pittsburgh and Montreal, like I said, Pittsburgh just has that playoff depth. When it gets to the later rounds, they know how to come up clutch. And I might be wrong about this. I hope I am. I hope Montreal's like, yo, this is the closest we've been in years. Since 2014 when that fucking douchebag Chris Kreider took out Carey Price's knee on purpose. You can't change my mind otherwise, on purpose. But I think Pittsburgh's going to be able to take it in 5. I think that's when, I don't want to call Montreal a Cinderella team, but that's when that Cinderella streak ends for Montreal. It would be Pittsburgh in 5. In Colorado versus Carolina, I have Colorado in 5. I don't think Carolina... This is going to be the tricky part, because this is the first time that the divisions are playing, that the people are playing anyone outside of their division. You know what I'm saying? So they're playing teams they haven't played in over a year. But I just feel like Colorado's a lot more dominant than Carolina. Even if Carolina is the top of their division, Colorado's the top of theirs, when you get those two together, Colorado's going to beat Carolina. I have Colorado in 5. And then we got the Stanley Cup Championship, Pittsburgh versus Colorado. Now with the depth Colorado has and how amazing playoff experience Pittsburgh has, what is it? 4 appearances in the last 10 years? 12 years? I don't know. Ever since Crosby joined, it's been about 4 appearances. 3 out of 4 they've won. 2008 they lost. 2009 they won the year after. Then they won 2016, 2017. I don't know. I don't think they made any appearances after that or before that. I mean, like, not before 2008. I mean, like, before 2016. And you get what I'm saying. But they haven't made any appearances after that. They won 3 out of 4 out of their last 4. They've won 3 of them. So that's where Pittsburgh comes into play with that playoff experience and that playoff depth they have. That once they go on a run, they go on a fucking run. Colorado's just got a stacked team. They got that depth, and I'm like, everyone thinks Colorado's gonna win. I'm saying it myself. I'm there like, everyone thinks Colorado's gonna win. What's so fucking special about them? They are stacked. You get what I'm saying? I remember watching Nathan McKinnon in juniors when he played for the Halifax Mooseheads. I'd go and watch him, and this dude would be getting 5 goals a game. Whenever his face would appear on the Megatron, we're like, fuck yes! Because we knew we were going to watch a fucking superstar just carry our team to victory. I have a post right here. 2013 Memorial Cup Stanley Cup Champions. Stanley Cup Champions is in my mind. Memorial Cup Champions 2013. Halifax Mooseheads. Nathan McKinnon. Jonathan Drouin. Martin Ferk, who is a solid AHL player. Jonathan Drouin plays for my Montreal Canadiens. Nathan McKinnon. He's so talented. Gabriel Landeskog as a captain. They're just a stacked team. That's just 2 solid forwards among a shit ton of others. They picked up Nazem Kadri, you know what I mean? And that guy's probably even on the 2nd, 3rd line. And he's such a phenomenal player. So this is going to be a tough one. I think this is going to be one of those series that's going to be super exciting, and it's going to go to Game 7. A Stanley Cup Finals that goes to Game 7, that's what you want to see. And I feel like Colorado's going to pull it off. I feel like their depth, their strength, their stacked team is going to be able to break that Pittsburgh streak this year. They're going to pull the 2008 Detroit, and they're going to pull it off. I think it's going to go the distance. Game 7. You know, I think Pittsburgh win 2, Colorado win 2. They win 1, they win 1. It goes to Game 7. I think Colorado's going to walk away with their first Stanley Cup championship. And if it's not Montreal, I hope it's Colorado, because I want to see Nathan McKinnon win his first. Brad Marchand got his, Nova Scotia boy. Sidney Crosby got his, Nova Scotia boy. Who else was it? I forgot the other one. I think that was it. Nathan McKinnon's left to get his. So if it's not Montreal, I hope it's you, Nate. Yeah, so that is my 2021 Stanley Cup Playoff Bracket. If you guys want to leave yours in the comments down below, feel free. If you guys want me to react to anything in the future, I say this after all my reactions, don't really know what to say here because this ain't a reaction, but if you guys want me to react to anything in the future, gaming channel, link in the description, go subscribe to that shit. I'm playing Cold War on there all the time, new video coming out in tonight, tomorrow area. But yeah, 2021 NHL Playoff Bracket done. Peace.